So let's start with some basic visualizations. First one is a text visualization. We bring it in here. We cannot link it to any data. There is no data block here available. So the only thing we can do is go to settings and fill in some text. Okay. So in here I've copied some text, and if you go to the layout, so in here we have 2 pages that are linked to the component. So if you go to layout, we see some more options. Skip the bottom part for now. In here we can select a font size, make it a bit bigger. We can align, center, right, and justify, put it in bold, italic, and underline it. Next visualization we will talk about is the image component. If we drag it in here, we see again that we cannot link any data to it. We can only configure it further in the settings and layout. So in the settings, we can select one of the preloaded images in here. Make a selection and see how the image changes. We can upload new images as well. Just pick one from your local file system. And if you do that, it will be added to the lists and be available in all your dashboards. Concerning the layout, we have some options for the size. We can make it fit or fill or stretch. With the fit or fill, we can play with the alignments, so we can have the correct visualization that we want. Next one up is our web component. Let's bring it in. Same thing again, we see that we cannot link any data to it. We only have some configuration here in the settings. You see we have 2 types, custom HTML and web page. Let's have a look at the first option. In here we have a field to paste in some HTML code, and we see that it is rendered inside our component. If we look at the second option, we can fill in a URL. Let's take the Skyline website. And if we do that, we see that the web page is rendered inside the component. Let's move on to the next one, and that is DataMiner Maps. So we bring it in, we see again no data linking, only configuration. And here we have a list of all our DataMiner map config files. We can select one and see how it is applied. That's a very basic one with no parameters, but if we select one with parameters, we can see all the parameters are listed in here. We can fill it in. Let's fill in the continent Europe, and we see that it is applied in the embedded map. Next one is our DataMiner clock. We have it in 2 flavors, a digital and an analog clock. Let's start with the digital clock. If we bring it in, we see again we cannot link any data to it. And in the settings, we can choose between the DataMiner client time or the DataMiner server time, which is the same in this setup. Looking at the layout, we can see we can toggle the seconds in the visualization and also to show the date. Similar as with the digital clock, we have our analog clock, same options, show seconds and date, and we can choose between client and server time. The next component is a very basic one. It's the block component. It's basically an empty component, and the only purpose it has is to fill in some gaps in your dashboard layout. So you can play, for example, with background color like this and make it fill in the dashboard gap quite nicely. Last but not least, we have our group components. In a group component, we can host several subcomponents, and if we look at the layout, we can see that we can increase the number of components up to 4 components, and that we can choose one of the given layouts. In this demo, I will limit the component here to 2 subcomponents and choose the layout so they are displayed side by side. I'll bring in the state component and link it to the left, and then a line chart to the right. Looking at the data, I will link this group component to a parameter, total processor load from my server. And if I do that, I see I have indeed my state and value from my total processor load at the left and the trend at the right hand side. I can bring in another parameter, and then we see that again this parameter is pushed to these 2 subcomponents, and I have the 2 values and states here at the left and the 2 trend charts and a scroll viewer at the right. If you're annoyed with the scroll viewer, we can configure the grouping for this subcomponent. So you can see that we can select a subcomponent in a group and then apply some extra configuration. So for the trending, that's the grouping. Let's group everything all together. And then we can see the 2 parameters are shown in one graph. So our group component here combines the real-time value together with the trend in one single component.